As the World Cup captures the world's attention, and particularly folks here in South Florida, the long dragged out on again, off again plan to bring a professional soccer team to Miami appears to be finally taking shape. Next week, the Miami City Commission will vote on a plan to turn over public land at Mel Reese Golf Course for a soccer stadium that would be built by the investment group that includes David Beckham. If it clears the City Commission, then voters in Miami would have to approve it in November. There's a lot more to the plan than a soccer stadium, and joining me now to discuss it is Miami City Manager Emilio Gonzalez. Emilio, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, as I understand it, you are recommending this deal, so let's talk about what this deal entails. Give us the broad strokes.
Well, this would be a deal which would allow David Beckham and the Moss brothers to develop what is now Mel Reese Golf Course into what I think would be the capital of soccer in the Western Hemisphere. It would be a stadium, it would be multiple soccer fields, it would be a public park for the residents of the city of Miami. There would be a business component with stores that cater to the sports industry, perhaps even a sports medicine institute, and a technology hub to boot. So all of these different businesses would feed into the sports business, if you will, and really put Miami on the map.
So one of the concerns I think people automatically have is when you see green space, there's only so much green space that is in any city, in municipal area. This is a large section of green space. The fear is that when you start paving over it by putting stadiums and 128,000 square feet of retail or office space and retail shopping and other components, that you're diminishing the city overall. How would you address environmentalists who say we shouldn't be taking green spaces off the map?
Well, I would tell you that there will be actually more available green space for a much greater number of residents. Right now, unless you're an avid golfer and you have $80 to spend golfing, that green space doesn't exist for you. What we're seeing here is an opportunity to not just have a park, a true public park developed for the city, but actually have a series of public soccer fields that city residents can use in addition to the stadium.
So here are some of the numbers. You're roughly looking at 10.5 acres of the land going for a 20,000 seat stadium, 138,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space, 12,000 square feet of music and entertainment space. And regarding the park that you're talking about, it would be a 58-acre park that would be developed and funded by the Beckham Group, $20 million that they would fund for this. And let's talk about the dollars. It's not just the
by the way, they would create the park and then they would give us the money to maintain the park.
And what public dollar, other than providing the land, which you're leasing to Beckham
Correct.
for a fee of somewhere between $3 and $5 million a year?
Correct. And we'll work that out because the way it's structured now, it'll be a square foot price, and it will also be dependent on appraisals. So there's a ballpark in there, but I'm expecting it'll be at a minimum $3.5 to $4 million.
And it would also go on the tax roll, so the
Correct.
Beckham Group would now be paying taxes
Correct.
on land that is not accrued. So what is the financial benefit for Miami, do you estimate?
Well, overall, just from a tax-based perspective, it's worth about $40 million overall. To Miami, it's about 10. I will tell you that the county has a benefit here to the tune of about 8 or 9 million. The school board will be getting some money, and the state will probably end up getting the largest chunk of this tax base.
So as you and I were discussing it, on Thursday, the commission will vote, and if the commission approves it, what they're approving is to put it on the ballot in November for the voters to vote on, and then if the voters approve it, then you would begin earnest negotiations with the Beckham Group for all the fine points and details.
Right. What we have now, as far as the resolutions, are the bottom line. These are our markers that we'll lay down. The commission, not all members of the commission are interested in this project. Some, more than others, have been quite vocal against it. Some have been very vocal for it. But what we want is to let the voters decide. So once the commission decides that this will go to referendum, the voters will vote up or down vote in November.
What happened to Overtown? There was so much talk about the Beckham Group coming in, and initially they were going to go in Overtown. Overtown and help redevelop that area. What happened to that?
Overtown is still in play. I will tell you that I'm sort of fixated on the stadium, but I will tell you that Overtown is still in play, not necessarily as a stadium, but the ownership group does have plans for Overtown and to develop that tract of land that they own.
Let me ask you this. I think folks in South Florida still have a bad taste in their mouth from the Marlins Stadium deal. They were promised that there was going to be a stadium with all this retail space and restaurants, and it was going to be a boom to the surrounding community. And here we are years later, and it's an elephant. There's very little development around it. Why should we believe that this deal is going to be different than the Marlins Stadium
Well,
deal?
first of all, the Marlins Stadium was done with public dollars. This is being done with private dollars. So the developers are assuming 100% of the risk. Secondly, we still haven't really negotiated the business aspect of the deal, which has to go back to the commissioner once that's done. So there are any number of things that we could put in there, reverter clauses if we need to ensure that the taxpayers will be taken care of.
Maybe profit sharing, if there's some profits to be turned in terms of
that's
that?
something we could discuss. Again, you have profit sharing if we were to go in with them as far as part of the investment. Right now, they're putting up $1 billion.
Well, let's see. The first step is obviously get through the commission. If it passes there, I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussions.
Oh, there'll be many discussions between next week and November.
I want to just turn my attention for a second because many people may not know this. You're a retired U.S. Army colonel. In 2005, you were approved by the United States Senate to be the Department of Homeland Security Undersecretary that oversaw Customs and Immigration Services during the Bush administration. You served in that position for 2 years, essentially the precursor for ICE.
Well, I was immigration and citizenship, so we were sister services, but we worked together quite a bit.
Talk to me. I don't want to draw you into a political discussion. You're sort of apolitical at this point, or try to be. When you look at the calls to abolish ICE, when you look to what you see in terms of the family separation at the border, give us your impressions. I'm just sort of curious what you see as you watch this.
Yeah, listen, I think that the calls to abolish ICE are very, very short-sighted. ICE is an excellent organization. ICE is the organization that's out there fighting human trafficking, fighting human slavery. This is an organization that is a recent organization, but the people that work there are very honorable. They're doing what they're being told to do. So for somebody to say, oh, the only fix here is to abolish ICE, I think it's a pithy campaign line, but it really doesn't serve the purpose of having greater and deeper immigration reform, which is what this country needs.
Are you concerned by any of the images that you've been seeing on television?
I am concerned about the images. I also get calls from a lot of colleagues in the capital area. Some of them are heartbreaking. There are images that people don't see of people trafficking in small children. So, I mean, it really is a very, very complicated issue. My big tagline when I was in Washington is that Americans love immigrants, but they hate immigration. And it's, when you think about that, it's the whole process of how one gets here. It's convoluted, it's complex. It's a whole niche market in the legal profession. There are immigration attorneys for a reason, just like there are tax attorneys for a reason. And I think that until we really wrap our arms around how we want this country to look, what we want this country to be, and actually take steps in that direction, I think we're going to be having more and more of these images on TV.
Just on the issue of ICE for a second, do you agree, though, that there probably needs to be some reform?
ICE does what they're told to do. The reform has to be at the policy level. These guys just don't go out willy-nilly and start separating families or arresting people for traffic violations. They do what they're told to do.
Do you think that's a good policy, to separate families as a way of trying to deter others from coming?
I think that separating families is a very bad idea, quite frankly. Listen, I'm an immigrant myself. I struggle with the upside of separating small children from their parents.
Emilio, I really appreciate your coming in and talking about all of this. And we'll be watching the commission vote this Thursday.
Thank you. Hope you'll be there.
Well, it'll be fun for sure. Up next, Democratic candidate for Congress, Debbie Murkowski-Powell, when we come back.